right, we are back again with another video. So today I wanted to talk about some weird stuff going on overseas, from where I'm at in the UK or in Europe, some cybersecurity laws and some stuff that's been trying to be passed the last month or so. And that was another reason why I waited so long to do a video, was to kind of see what, if anything weird was happening the last month or so, excluding, everything that's been going on in our current administration. And so I wanted to talk about today United Kingdom and their role in biometric systems, their role in digital currency, their role in just digitizing their country and helping push along digitizing the world, like just helping that whole plan, that whole agenda of getting everybody on board with like having cashless things, cashless society, using biometric uses throughout society. So that's what we're going to talk about today. But long story short, here's my opinion before we even delve into this. I just want to let you guys know that basically I think many of the things that's going on in the United Kingdom right now is just crazy. It's wild. It's starting to see how the government can silently undermine its people and just not pay attention to what the people want, and to basically override what people are asking for and what people don't want, you know, underneath the guise of protecting certain individuals or protecting certain people in the community. So we're just gonna go on and hop on to it right about now. So let's see. All right, so we're going to touch a couple of articles. One of the things that happened last month, between last month, January, and we're at the start of March, one of the things that happened was that Apple almost got fully, there was a backdoor to Apple security, and Europe figured it out. And Europe, specifically UK, was trying to pass laws to get through to Apple's backdoor and to basically get rid of encryption altogether for specific systems such as iCloud. So if you don't use Apple devices, iCloud is basically a cloud service where people can save photos, they can save videos. Some people even save notes, text messages, just app data. You could just send your app data and you can save it in the cloud. And the cloud is supposed to be a secondary source of where people can save their information without their phone getting overcrowded with too much data or too much space on their phone. And so what happened last month was that the UK government decided to order Apple to basically have a backdoor to where the government could access any iCloud service, any iCloud, I won't say account, but people who use iCloud actively, specifically in the UK and Europe, the government, if they thought it was worthwhile, they could be able to access that person's iCloud account or their data, their app data, their user data. Pretty scary stuff. And so that's what we're going to get into today. But we're also going to get into some other rules that's been trying to be passed in the United Kingdom. It's just what's going on over there is crazy. And I just find it funny because what's happening over in UK, I feel like the exact opposite is happening here in America. There's been a lot of executive orders signed by the president where he's trying to protect free speech, despite what people may think. Some people think that he's not really trying to protect free speech. Some people do, but in my opinion, I think he is. He has signed executive orders demanding that the First Amendment be protected, specifically online and offline. And then you go over to the United Kingdom and you see the exact opposite happening, where they are not alerting the people, they're not telling the people what's going on, they're ordering these backdoors to these different companies, paying these companies off to access people's data, just really crazy stuff. So we're going to get into it. Okay, so it says, imagine waking up one morning to find out your government has demanded a master key to every digital iPhone lock on Earth without telling anyone. That's exactly what British security officials have tried to pull off, secretly ordering Apple to build a backdoor into iCloud that would allow them to decrypt any user's data anywhere in the world. Yes, not just suspected criminals, not just UK citizens, everyone. So this is why this is dangerous, because we see that they are pretending that this is something that only affects their borders in their country. But if a backdoor to Apple is slowly being pulled down, if encryption is slowly being crumbled in one country, imagine what can happen in other countries. And we've seen this fight before with data encryption, for example, with the TikTok thing that happened a couple of months ago before Trump came to office. You know, people were complaining about that, how TikTok was going to be banned because it was an unsecure app and people's data was basically unencrypted, and the data was being sent back to the Chinese Communist Party or the Chinese government in a way. And the Chinese was using TikTok's app to spy on American citizens. That was one of the reasons why TikTok was going to be banned here in the States, but it never got banned here in the States because Trump basically wanted to use it. So it's been the usage of data and who gets to see it, who is privileged to see it. That has been a fight that's been happening for years, but for the last couple of months, it's been like put on the forefront, which is crazy to me. And this is crazy because if it happens in one country, it's going to happen in other countries, or it may be happening in other countries. It's just, we just don't know about it yet. And they don't even want Apple to talk about it. And so it says, this breathtakingly authoritarian stunt, first reported by the Washington Post, is one of the most aggressive attempts to dismantle digital privacy ever attempted by a so-called Western democracy. It's the kind of thing you expect from regimes that plaster their leader's face on every street corner, not from a country that still pretends to believe in civil liberties. And then the article goes into like how the officials are pushing for this. They're hiding behind laws, like, for example, the UK's Investigatory Powers Act of 2016. It's also nicknamed the Snoopers Charter, where basically they're just using silly reasons to snoop on people's privacy, people's online data. This legislative overreach forces tech companies to comply with government spying requests while making it illegal to even disclose that such demands have been made. So it's like this government is basically throwing rocks and then hiding their hands behind their backs. It's the surveillance state's dream. Limitless power, zero accountability. Yeah, it sounds like 1984, which is a great book, by the way, if you haven't read it. It's a dystopian book by George Orwell. Great book. You should read it if you haven't yet. And Apple decided to stay neutral, so they refused to comment, likely because doing so would be a criminal offense under the UK law. That's right. Even talking about the demand could land Apple executives in legal trouble. Nothing screams free society like threatening jail time for discussing government overreach. And here's the writer issue. Even if Apple were to challenge this draconian demand, it wouldn't matter. The law requires immediate compliance, meaning that even as Apple fights the order, it would still be forced to hand over the keys in the meantime. It is the legal equivalent of being forced to serve a prison sentence while appealing your conviction. By the time the courts make a decision, the damage is already done. Yeah. UK is crashing out right now with a lot of digital stuff. And it's not being talked about right now because here in America, the media is choosing to focus on the Trump administration, Trump's every move, what he doesn't do right, what he does do right, whether he ate today, whether he got a full 8 hours of sleep. The media isn't really accurately, telling the American people what's going on outside of its borders, outside of what's going on with our current administration, and the travel modes of travel, the plane crashes. That's what's been in the media lately over here. So let's see. There was another one that another article right here. Okay, so this I want to talk about for a little bit. The Biden administration helped the UK undermine encryption. So before we begin to this, let's just do a background on encryption. What is encryption? Encryption is the method by which information is converted into secret code that hides the information's true meaning. So basically, when you send a message to someone over the internet, you see it in English, but when you send the message goes through like different servers, different pathways, subnetting, all of that. And then it also gets turned into like binary code, ones and zeros, just like mixed up, mashed up gobbledygook that nobody can read, no human can read, but a computer can read. That's called encryption. Basically, it encrypts the message, it hides the message, it makes the message secure so that nobody can snoop and do like a middle and the man attack. Where like somebody comes in or a hacker comes in and tries to look at your message before it gets to the other person. The science of encrypting and decrypting information is called cryptography. Basically, it's an art to it, and encrypting goes back further than information technology. Encryption was used throughout history. I don't know much about it, but I know it was used throughout history. But that's what encryption is. That basically it makes your messages, it makes things secure. In a way, it makes everything secure. So that's the only thing you really need to know about that. And so it's also been used to protect sensitive information. It was used by militaries and governments at first before the internet became something that everybody uses, everyday use. Actually, the internet originally was a project that was birthed out of the government, out of the military. So let's see. Another thing that's going on that I thought was crazy was UK revisits proposal to make a vast police database from driving licenses. So every country where you can drive, they all have driving license databases. But we know here in America that when we put our information when we get a driver's license and when we have our information sent to the tax collectors, we're confident that no one can retrieve that information unless they get a warrant on the person first. No one can retrieve that information. No one can get that information. Just go to the tax collectors or go to the government and say, I need so-and-so's information. Run me their driver's license. We know that here in America, you cannot do that. You have to get a warrant first. Now, in the UK, it's something different going on. That's why I said in the beginning of my video that everything that's happening in America, I believe that the exact opposite is happening in the UK. It's almost like they're going through some kind of reactionary phase where they're seeing what's going on in America and they're doing the exact opposite in terms of securing data, digital stuff. So it says, the UK government is advancing a crime and policing bill that could have a significant impact on British society as it seeks to introduce new laws and policing powers. The new crime bill, introduced by Home Secretary Yvette Cooper, is currently in its second reading. That's crazy. And has come under fire for its potential expansion of facial recognition powers. The bill is seen as the biggest legislative update to policing in the UK in decades, and is designed to tackle antisocial crimes and street crimes. Okay, so antisocial crimes, that's very vague. Street crimes, we know what that is, for criminals. A clause in the bill gives police the green light to run facial recognition searches on the national database of 50 million driving licenses. That's important right there. So the bill is basically giving police the green light to just just go crazy, run facial recognition searches on anybody that has a driving license. We're not talking about just criminals here. We're talking about anybody. That's a breach of privacy. The plan was introduced by the previous conservative government in the 2023 criminal justice bill and has come under fresh criticism following the new Labor government's proposed bill. It's disturbing to see the government is reheating the conservatives' abandoned plans to grant all police forces access to our driving license photos, opening the door to the creation of a massive facial recognition database. So here's what I think what's going to happen in the future. They have these biometric things happening right now in society. They said that 2025 was the year of the biometric. So this year they're going to make biometric the forefront. They're going to make it popular. They're going to make it something that's something that people have to get on board with. Right now it's a trial run. Then later on it will become not only permanent but mandatory. It will become mandatory to have biometric facial scans, to have biometric data off of every person. And then what they do is they couple that biometric data with something feasible, such as a driver's license, such as an address, such as the place where you work, such as your previous address. They could tie all of that back to where you live, or at least your general location. So I think this is where that's going, where we have a huge database that holds everybody's information, and not just basic information. We're talking about very detailed information, almost as if they know where you live and what you do at all times. And this is why I've been emphasizing these last couple of videos that privacy is very, very important. Free speech is very, very important, regardless of how you feel about the current president, the current administration here in America, at least. I love the fact that he is promoting the First Amendment free speech. Because if you don't have the First Amendment, then when the government becomes something that is unrecognizable to the average man, that average man won't be able to speak up for himself. And then we can even go even further with this talk. We can even go further and say, if you don't have the First and the Second Amendment, the Second Amendment is the right to bear arms, the right to have guns, the right to have a militia. If you don't have the right to bear arms, you don't have the right to arm yourself. When the government decides that they don't want you here and they don't want you around. Because we've seen, if you look back in history, we've seen where governments have turned on their people, or they have deemed certain types of people as undesirables, or people that shouldn't be in that society. So it's very, very important. Freedom of speech is very, very important. It's very, very important. And so we see here that UK is just crashing out. They're just going crazy. A proposal to make a vast police database from driving licenses, just a whole database with biometric stuff. The bill allows the government to grant police officers extraordinary powers to identify and track anyone with a driving license at the click of a button, calling it an unprecedented breach of privacy and risking misidentification and injustice. Big Brother Watch is referring specifically to Clause 95 of the Crime and Policing Bill. This will allow all police forces, the National Crime Agency, and the Independent Office for Police Conduct access to driving license information for policing or law enforcement. This will include images of faces, which could be used for facial recognition matching by the police or the NCA. So it's just a lot of like different agencies over in the UK. So we're going to go over now to this grassroots type group called Big Brother Watch, which is not located here in America, is located in the United Kingdom. So this is the last thing I want to talk about. Big Brother Watch. You could donate to this group. You can subscribe. They do a lot of activism on digital privacy, digital information, making sure that the UK citizens know what's really going on, stopping facial recognition, because facial recognition is going crazy, by the way, over there. Basically stopping the UK from becoming like a big brother. We work to roll back the surveillance state and protect the rights of everyone in the UK to be free from unfair intrusion. Silky Carlo, director of Big Brother Watch, and learn more about us, okay? It says today you are watched by a network of intelligent surveillance systems. That is true. You are tracked by your personal devices, monitored by social platforms, and targeted by invasive corporations. You may not know their names, but they know yours. Every decision is collected and archived somewhere by someone. We do not consent. We do not submit. So yeah, you can donate. They're cool. They're a UK civil liberties campaign group, and so they do a lot of things over there, overseas, a lot of stuff. They have a team, videos, press releases, different campaigns. You can get involved. Spycoin, No Digital ID, Ministry of Truth, all of that. Stop thermal surveillance, which is crazy. That's crazy. Hold up. The surveillance industry exploited the pandemic to sell intrusive and ineffective biosecurity theater, including thermal cameras. That's your body data in other people's hands for no good reason. We stop them in their tracks and establish your data rights against unwanted biosurveillance, your legal rights. I'm not going to click on that because I'm not a UK civilian, but it's interesting to know. Also, another thing too, which I might make a video about, I think there's something similar going on in New York City too, where they have cameras, and I've seen cameras in my own town too on different corners. By the way, a lot of cameras popped up, I think like right after the pandemic, which is crazy. I noticed that there was cameras on different street corners, specifically in like what they would call like the low income areas in my town, or like, you know, the black neighborhoods, or neighborhood I used to live in, stuff like that. But there's a thing that they're doing in New York where like they have cameras everywhere, and not only do these cameras, like they do like facial recognition on people, and the police uses the facial recognition off of those cameras to go catch people doing crimes. But there's been many cases, which I do want to do this in the future, on how the police actually has, not the police, let me back up, the AI on the cameras have accidentally caught like the wrong people, or people that weren't doing crimes at all, sent it to the police, and the police ended up like arresting or basically harassing people that did not commit crimes at all. So it's just something to think about, you know. It's just a lot to think about. A lot to think about. But yeah, so that just goes back to my initial thing, you know. There's a lot happening around us every day. Every day you could turn on the news and just be flooded with tons of information. And I believe that we are living in the open information age, where back in the day, you could only get your information from few sources, from schools, maybe from your job, maybe from libraries if you're the type to go to the library. But now you can get your information from everywhere. And so it's a good thing, but it's also a bad thing, you know. You really have to be smart, and you really have to figure out, is this information true? Are they hiding behind some type of bias? Are they trying to sell me something? Do they want me to get on with some type of campaign or some type of agenda? One thing I will tell everyone is that you never want to tie yourself down to any kind of agenda. Don't tie yourself down to a leftist agenda. Don't tie yourself down to a far right agenda. You just be you, and you live your life. But you also have to, when you see something, you do have to speak up about it. Now, I'm not the type to say to get out there and vote, because I do believe that voting does not work a lot of the times. I believe that, you know, Every 4 years, it will just be a pendulum that switches back and forth. You will have a Republican president, then a Democratic president, a Republican, then a Democratic. So I am not going to sit there and tell you, like, get out there and vote. But what I will say is that you at least have to be aware of what's going on in your surroundings, and at least have to tell yourself, well, how am I going to fight this? Am I going to, like, contact my local government, or am I going to contact someone who has a little bit more power to me? Because that can also go pretty far too. You don't always have to go and write letters to people, but you can alert somebody else that may have more power than you. But again, as we can see in the UK's crashing out. There's a lot going on with like digital privacy, encryption, backdoors to encryption, backdoors to Apple. And now you're probably thinking, as an American, like, why does that concern me? I'm here in the States. I have enough to be concerned about already. Inflation is high, groceries are high, rent is high, my mortgage is high. I have enough to be concerned about already. Yes, you have enough to be concerned about, and your concerns are valid. But what I will say is that what happens in other countries is only a matter of time before it comes over here. And so if you don't have a government that respects the sovereign state, and not only the sovereign 50 states, the individual, if you do not have a government that respects the sovereign states and the individual, you will see that anything that other countries want to happen here in America, it will happen, and it will happen quickly, and it will happen usually without the media telling the people what's going on, because they don't want the people to be in a sense of danger. They don't want the people to be frightened. So they're not going to tell the people what's going on. So it's up to you to just be yourself, to not be attached to any agendas. And if you are a Bible believer like me, you always have to seek the face of the Most High. You have to ask God, what is your will for my life, Father God? And then you also have to go out and you have to tell people that time is running short, and that that there is more to life than just what they see on the news. They have to give their lives to Christ, because he is the way, the truth, and the life. But outside of that, it's very important to have free speech. That's my main thing. It's important to have free speech, y'all. But that's pretty much what I wanted to talk about. That's pretty much it. And I think I'm out on this one.